Hey Bobcats, Mr. Flighto here. Welcome to another glorious week at Helena Middle School. Hope everyone's coming off an awesome weekend and is ready to have a fantastic week here at HMS. First and foremost, thanks for all of the feedback that you guys have been giving me when you see me in the halls, out on the playground, in the lunchroom. As you can see, it's lighter in my office today. The reason I keep it kind of dark is because it's super hot in here. Any of you that have been in my office know that it's like an inferno in here. So I kind of keep it dark to try to keep it cool. So we got lighter situation going on. I'm going to try to keep this to 15 minutes. That was some feedback I heard, and I want to give a special shout out to Miss Smith's advisor and Mr. Semensky's advisor, and as well as Claire Downing. She was the first to tell me that she liked the B.O.B Lesson, so she gets a special shout out today. And I've also heard from a lot of you, so I'll try to get you on here throughout the year. So without further ado, I have my stopwatch going, and we are ready to begin on another great B.O.B Lesson here. Alright, Bobcats, let's get rolling on B.O.B Lesson number 4, Your Guide to Academic Success. Part 2, we're going to continue off of the foundation that we laid in B.O.B Lesson number 3. But before we get started, let's remember to be our best at HMS. Let's remember to be safe. Let's remember to be responsible. Let's remember to be respectful. And let's remember to be a learner. All right, tip number 1, come prepared for class. And what does coming prepared for class look like? Well, for some of you, that means actually getting yourself to school. Now, I know we have sick days, and I know there are times when we are legitimately sick. And when we are legitimately sick, we want you to stay home and get better, and we don't want you to come to school and spread that around to everybody else. But that being said, I know there are a lot of days where you're feeling less than your best, and maybe you're a little sleepy, and maybe you just don't feel great, but you're not sick, and we talk mom and dad into taking a sick day. Those are the days we need you at school. Remember, your job is to be here in school, just like my job is to be here and your teacher's jobs are to be here. Remember, your job is to be here in school every day. And coming every day with your assigned homework and your projects completed. And we got to plan ahead and get those done and make sure that when we step in the classroom door, that is done. And when we get in the classroom door, let's make sure that we are focused and we are attentive, and let's leave the outside issues on the outside if we're coming in for recess or we had a tough morning. Once we step inside that classroom, we need 100% focus, 100% attentiveness every time. Just because you are filling a seat in the classroom doesn't mean you're there. We need you in that seat, but we also need you there mentally and academically there, and focused and attentive and ready to roll. Speaking of getting to class, let's get to class on time. Whenever we come late, our teachers you're slowing them down, and we're missing out on valuable class time. So let's make sure we hustle and we get to class on time. And part of that may be being prepared for class and bringing proper materials. Okay, if you have a crazy schedule where you're on one end of the school and then you go back to the other end, maybe think ahead and bring your materials for the next class. If you have a crazy logistical schedule, bring your materials and think ahead of time so that you don't have to backtrack across the school. Tip number 2, be an active listener. And I kind of put a funny picture over here. It's got 2 mouths and an ear, and I'm going to tell you what that's about here in a minute. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, okay? And that is because we should be doing way more listening than we are talking. If you look back to the picture, it'd be kind of crazy if we had a couple mouths where our ears were supposed to be and a big ear where our mouth was supposed to be. Okay, we don't look like that for a reason. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and we were designed like that on purpose so that we should be doing a lot more listening than we are speaking. I see students make more mistakes and miss more information from not listening than for any other reason. It's because they're not attentive, they're not tuned in. Their focus isn't where it's supposed to be. Maybe we're talking to a neighbor, maybe we're talking to a friend when really we're supposed to be listening. If you think about it, it's physically impossible to be talking and listening at the same time. If you were talking to a neighbor or you were talking to somebody else, as human beings, we can't focus in and listen to any more than one thing or one person at a time. So we should always be focused and be thinking on recognizing whether it is time to be listening or time to be speaking. And I would say that for 97% of the time when you are in class, You should be focusing on listening, because if you think about it, we should really only have one person talking at a time in class. Tip number 3, follow directions. Okay, and I want you to think for yourself for a minute, why is it so important to follow directions? Okay, well, I want you to think about what would happen if you play your favorite game and you don't play by the rules. It would be total chaos. There would be disputes on what the rules of the game are, and it would turn into a mess, and it wouldn't be very fun. Or what would happen if you decided to take a road trip to California and you didn't get any directions, you just started driving? Okay, the map on the left shows the best route through Idaho, through Utah, cutting across Nevada to California. But if you look at the map on the right, you could end up all the way across the United States in Timbuktu or in Miami, according to the map. You just never know. So we need to follow directions. Assembling furniture. I assembled a barbecue this summer, and I've learned my lesson. I've tried to assemble things in the past without following the directions, and it always turns out to be a mess. I tried to assemble something, and I got to the last step, and I realized I couldn't do it because I was supposed to do it in step number 3, and I had to take it all apart and redo it from the beginning. Okay, so we really need to follow directions. Believe it or not, your teachers don't speak just to hear themselves talk. The information they have is very valuable. Okay, so follow directions on your papers, follow directions on your assignment, follow directions from your teachers. And guys, sometimes us guys, we're worse than the ladies at this. So for us guys, we really got to do a great job with this, and the ladies too. Tip number 4, be organized. Organization is probably one of the most important differences between elementary school and middle school. If you'll see the pictures, I've got the picture on the left where the books are organized. You can very easily find your science folder, your math book, you know where your lunch is, so on and so forth. And the picture on the right looks like a tornado just hit it. If you were to go to find something, it's all stacked on top of one another. I'm not sure where anything is at there. Okay, so we've got to be organized. Keep your locker organized. Use an assignment notebook. We should be writing down our assignments when they're due, whether it's completed every single day, so when we get to our advisor time, we know where we're at and we know the work that we have to do. Write down assignments as soon as they are assigned, along with the due dates and instructions. Do not save homework for the last minute. Okay, procrastination is not a good thing. When we procrastinate, we never do our best work, and a lot of times we don't leave enough allotted time to get our work done, and then we end up in a pickle and we end up rushing it or not getting it completely done, and we're not doing our best work. To give you an example, I started making this Bob lesson on September 21st. Okay, it is now, I'm doing the audio, it's October 2nd, and this will be getting delivered probably October 4th, 5th, 6th, sometime in there. I'm ahead of the game on this, and I need to be, or I'm not going to do my best Bob lessons. Last but not least, keep your lockers, your assignment notebooks, keep everything organized by color sections, keep it nice and tidy and clean. I promise you it is going to make your life a lot better. And I'm telling you, speaking of life, it only gets more busy and more complex as you get older, as you get to high school, as you get to be a 7th, 8th grader. Okay, we got to get in good habits right now. And the best habit to get into is to always be organized. And tip number 5, do all of your work. And doing all of your work is so important for a couple reasons. Number 1, if you're not doing all your work, there's a very good chance you're not understanding all of the material that your teachers are attempting to teach you. Okay, it's not about just getting your homework done and getting it turned in, and I know it feels like a grind and it feels monotonous, but your teachers assign work to find out if you know the material and to give you an opportunity to demonstrate that you know and hopefully have mastered the material. Okay, and if we aren't doing some of our work, then we're not learning the material, and as I talked about last week, that's building that foundational piece. And I see a lot of kids that haven't done their work, and so they have gaps in their learning. Everything you're learning, you're going to need to use another time. It's going to continue to build on one another. And so we really need to do all of our work so that you are learning all of the material in the unit or in the class that your teachers are teaching. The second reason is because zeros absolutely will kill your grade. If you look at the slide I have here, I've got two scenarios of a fictitious made-up student work. I just put some numbers out there of what a typical assignment, typical homework might look like. And you'll notice that all of the assignments and the quizzes and the tests and everything are absolutely identical with the exception of assignment number 3. Now in scenario number 1, these students got a 17 out of 20 for an 85%, pretty good score. But on scenario number 2, they didn't do the work. Maybe it was lost in this locker back here that was destroyed. Looks like a tornado hit it. It's lost somewhere in there. I don't know where it's at. I'm not going to turn it in. Maybe they just didn't do it. But what I'm trying to point out here, folks, is that with identical scenarios, with one missing assignment, it kills your current grade. Okay, in scenario number 1, 93% would be the current grade. That's earning an A. That's awesome. In scenario number 2, same exact scenario, just one missing assignment, it drops it all the way down to a 79%. So that's the difference between getting an A and getting a C. Okay, I see students all the time. I go in, why am I failing? Why do I have a D? Or I have parents call me, why is my Johnny or my Sally failing? What's going on? And I pull up Power School, and sure enough, I look right there, missing assignments. They will tank your grade quicker than anything else. So do all of your work for those two reasons. Now, I've also been encountering some situations and trying to troubleshoot and figure out why is all of the work not getting done. And one of the big reasons I see is, well, Mr. Flato, I was sick. I didn't know it was signed. Mr. Flato, I was gone that day. I didn't know I had to do it. Listen, folks, the schoolwork, you are accountable to get everything done. You are responsible to get all of your work done. If you are sick, that doesn't mean that that assignment just disappears. Okay? If you're sick or you're gone or you're on vacation or you're doing whatever and you miss a quiz, it's your responsibility to get into Power School and to figure out what you missed and to talk to your teachers and to get this missing work made up. The other thing is you either blow it off or it's lost or I don't know what happened to it. Folks, it doesn't just magically reappear. It doesn't magically fix itself. It is on you to take the responsibility to figure out what work is getting done and to get it turned in and to get it made up. And if you do poorly on assignment, talking to your teachers and saying, hey, I kind of flopped that one. Can I get another opportunity? Your teachers here want to see each and every one of you be successful, and I know that they will bend over backwards to help you be successful. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more next week when it talks about using advisor time and being responsible and monitoring your grades during advisor time, getting a Chromebook, Power School, all that great stuff. So tip number 5, do all of your work. I'm going to close today, and I think I'm going to start doing this with a quote. Okay, and today's quote says, successful people take action. Unsuccessful people make excuses. And this really transcends into everything in life. Look, it's really easy to make excuses, okay? I woke up late. My dog ate my homework. It was the teacher's fault. Somebody was talking, yada, yada, yada. It goes on and on. I've heard about every excuse in the book, I feel like. But it's very simple. If you want to be successful in life, which I hope all of you do, you take action, okay? It's responsibility. It's on you. Life is not going to go perfect. It's not going to go the way it should sometimes. Unfortunate things happen. We have roadblocks in our way. We got to find a way to get over them. We got to find a way to take action. I'm going to talk about this a lot more throughout the year. Unsuccessful people, they make excuses. It's somebody else's fault. It's not my fault, okay? So I want you guys to think about this. The difference between successful people and the difference between unsuccessful people is action versus excuses, okay? One of my other favorite quotes is, find a way, don't find an excuse, or make a way, don't make an excuse. All right, we were finishing up right about 13 minutes here. As I promised, thanks again for the feedback. I love hearing from you guys in the hallways, out at lunch, in the classrooms, wherever I see you. And let's make a great week.